Hello and welcome to Louise Singleton Creations. In today's video I'm getting ready for Christmas with my new mould from Moulds and Shapes. It's a wall hanging mould and I've decided to make it into a chalkboard so that I can write my message on it with a chalk marker and ask Santa for what I would really like for Christmas. If that sounds like lots of festive fun, stay tuned and enjoy the video. Right, here's the mould I'm using today. It's nice and large and shiny, perfect for resin, and I was dying to have a go with it. And because I decided to make mine as a chalkboard, there was going to be a lot of black. So I thought to brighten it up, it would be really nice to brush pigments onto the mould first. I knew it would take a lot of time and there would be a lot of cleaning up, but sometimes it's worth it, isn't it? Don't you think? So when you're brushing lots of different coloured pigment powders or chameleon powders, whatever you're using, onto a design like this, you kind of have to think of the best order to do it in. Because as you're applying the pigment, the static attraction, I suppose that's what you would call it, but yeah, the silicone kind of pulls the powder off your brush and it tends to go everywhere. So you kind of need to work out which is the best bit to start with, because you're going to be cleaning up as you go along. It's hard to put into words what I mean, but I'm sure if you've tried this before, you know exactly what I mean. So anyway, I decided to start with that kind of border that goes around the Christmas gifts images. And as you can see already, the powder is just being pulled off my brush and going everywhere. And that's why I put that strip of tape along the top of the design, just to protect the mould and to save me on cleaning. But as it happened, it didn't really make that much difference. And it's, you know, if I did it again, I probably wouldn't put that sellotape there. I'd just clean the mould afterwards because it's actually quite easy. Right, my plan was to add chameleon flakes to the Christmas gifts next. And so really, I didn't need to clean up the areas that you can see me cleaning now, because that could be left to the next stage. I'm going to carry on making a mess and it will need cleaning up again. But anyway, I'm just showing you the process. You can use sticky tape to pull the pigment off the silicone. That works quite well. But I kind of prefer using a baby wipe wrapped around my finger so that I can just use the tip of my finger with the baby wipe on it to rub the pigment off that way. I just find it a little bit more accurate and you're not getting your tape going everywhere and taking bits off that you don't want to take off. Right, so the cleanup is done and here are the chameleon flakes that I'm using. They're from Let's Resin and these flakes are nice subtle colours. I didn't want to go too intense with the colours. I wanted it to be a bit softer, so I thought these would work really well. So the colours of chameleon flakes that I used were gold olive for the middle gift, violet aqua for the one on the right, and I think the one on the left was pink olive. And the flakes are very big and they can be quite hard to pick up with your brush, but they work so well on the silicone. The finished result was beautiful. So once I'd finished covering the main body of the three gifts, I cleaned it all up again with a baby wipe, a few baby wipes if I'm honest, just in the same way as before. And now this time I'm just painting on some of the gold pigment powder again onto the design on the gifts. And in actual fact, I ended up covering these up on the finished piece, but you don't know what the future holds at the time, do you? So yeah, I thought gold would look good. In the end, there just wasn't enough contrast for my liking. But yeah, I'm just showing you what I did, even though I did end up covering it up. For the background, I got out my Intense Colour Shift Chameleon Flakes from Let's Resin and chose my favourite colour that's in there, which is fuchsia. And so, yeah, I just painted that all over the background. I've always found that the moulds from Moulds and Shapes have got an extra good cling factor. I think I made up the word clingability in one of my recent videos, and yeah, I'm sure I won't find that in the dictionary. But clingability I quite like. It works, doesn't it? Because that's what these moulds have, lots of clingability. So yeah, I'm just painting it all on. It looks very pink at the moment, but when you see it from a different angle, it's green. So yeah, it's quite cool. So when I'd finished applying all of that background powder, I gave it a really good brush with a thick brush, just to make sure that there was no loose powder hanging around, because I was going to be pouring resin in and I didn't want loads of the powder going into my resin. So there we are, it's all brushed down, and now it just needs a clean up again with the good old baby wipe. Right, now it's time for the resin, and one thing I did forget to do, which is what I normally do before I begin, is to fill the mould with water and measure the volume, but I completely forgot to measure the volume, so I had to guess with my resin. I had some black resin left from Let's Resin, and I thought I might as well use up what's left in the bottles and hope that it will be enough. And as it turned out, it was a little bit too much, so I filled some other moulds to use up the excess, but it's always best to have too much than not enough, isn't it? I used my new electric mixer from Let's Resin to mix it up. Sorry, it's coming right up to the camera and blocking your view. But anyway, it worked really well. It comes with a stand, and really I didn't want to put this one on the stand because the silicone jug is so big. I thought it would be better to do it handheld so I can move it around and get all of the resin. So yeah, it's quite a good mixer, that. And yeah, I mixed it for about 2 minutes, and it's a 1-to-1 ratio by volume. I think that's everything you need to know about the resin. Let's get on to the next step. So here is where I made a silly mistake. I've just been sent the bubble remover machine from Let's Resin, and I did a review of it, and it worked really, really well. But for some strange reason, don't ask me why, I didn't use it. And I really wish I had used it, because when I demoulded this, there were a lot of little air bubbles trapped in there around the detail on the mould. And I kicked myself. I thought, why the heck didn't I use my bubble remover machine? But never mind. Don't worry. It all turned out okay in the end. Right, the next day it was time to demould it, and I don't know if you can see, but the surface, luckily, is the back, and it's far from perfect. And that is because I'd left it to cure overnight, and it's been so cold here that it just didn't cure well at all. It was still very bendy the next day, and yeah, luckily, like I say, that messy side was the back, and so people won't see that. Luckily, the side that was touching the mould was absolutely fine. And there we have it. So yeah, it needs a little bit of work to make it better because of the bubbles that were trapped in there that I told you about, which you'll see when you see it a little bit closer up. Here it is, look. And what I decided to do was fill in the patterns, because it's in like a recess. It's easy to fill it if you want to add some extra colour. So I mixed up some glitter with UV resin and filled in all those details on the gifts, just to give it a little bit more contrast, because as I said before, I wasn't completely happy with it. And once the patterns were filled with the UV resin, I cured them under the light, and I did the same thing for the third gift. So next I decided to add a message around the edge of the chalkboard with adhesive vinyl from HTV Ront. And so yeah, here I am just cutting it out on my Cricut Maker. Yeah, I'm not showing much detail about how I did all that because I don't know if you've got a Cricut Maker, but I tell you what, I would highly recommend them. They're so useful for making text to add to your resin projects. So when the cutting was complete, I weeded away all the excess vinyl off the design. And I didn't actually realise until later on that I'd lost one of the letters, and luckily I managed to find it. But yeah, I lost a letter. We were going to end up with Christmas without an S on the end. I did find it and I put it back on. So after I'd finished the weeding, I took some transfer film and stuck that over the top, and you just rub it all down and then pull it off, and it will take the letters with it if you've rubbed it down enough. It doesn't always want to play nicely. Sometimes it just won't pick the letters up. So yeah, I like to turn mine over and peel the back off and do it that way. So then it was time to put it onto the chalkboard. And at this point, I was very lucky because I was trying to position it without it touching it so that I could get it in the right place, and it just clung. It suddenly stuck to it when I wasn't ready for it to stick to it. But luckily, it was in the right place, thank goodness, because it would have been an absolute pain to take that off and reposition it. Yeah, Lady Luck was on my side. So here I'm just pressing it down again, making sure it's completely stuck, and then all I needed to do was carefully peel off the transfer film and it was ready. I think adding the text was the perfect finishing touch. It really improved it so much. And then once that was done, I just needed to add a ribbon. And here I found one that I thought would go well with it. Not too Christmassy, but it kind of goes with the black feel, and it worked quite well. So then all that was left to do was to think about what I wanted to ask Father Christmas to bring me. And it's not easy. I couldn't decide. But the great thing about chalkboard markers is that they wipe off resin super easily. I just used a wet wipe and then dried it off with a microfiber cloth, and I could change my mind as many times as I wanted. And then in the end, wishful thinking got the better of me, and I think really I've overestimated Santa's abilities, but still, who knows? Who knows what Christmas will bring me? So what did you think of the wall hanging mould? Have I inspired you to get one for yourself? If I have, pop over to Moulds and Shapes and get my discount code from the video description. They have another image on one as well. I think it's reindeers on one of the wall hangings. So yeah, go and check them out. They've got so many Christmas moulds there to choose from. Well, we've come to the end of another video, and I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, please do give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you would like to, and I will see you again next time. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.